So I'm sure you read the title of this video and you either thought, one, I'm crazy and I have no idea what I'm talking about, or two, you're just curious as to how I connected these dots. Maybe you don't know what beach wrestling is. Maybe you don't know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to keep this video as brief as possible so I can communicate my point and hopefully convince coaches out there to start implementing some beach wrestling rule set rounds into their practices for high school or middle school, and etc. So folk style wrestling is the American style of wrestling that you see at the youth level, middle school, high school, and college. Greco-Roman and freestyle wrestling are the two wrestling styles you see at the World Championships and in the Olympics. And then beach wrestling is a lesser known style, still sanctioned by the UWW, the same body that does the freestyle and Greco-Roman. And they do have a World Series where after multiple events they do a world champion. That's not really relevant for the sake of this video. But in beach wrestling, when I say beach wrestling, I'm also talking about the beach wrestling rule set. Not, you don't need to actually go to the beach or go find a sand volleyball court to get the benefits that I'm talking about. You can practice this rule set on a regular mat. The beach wrestling rule set, pretty much the thing that really makes it distinct from the other rule sets is you cannot hit your knee. Once you hit your knee, then you give up a point to the other guy, right? The other guy scores a point. And this makes you develop and focus on different type of attacks. Now, these are attacks that are also popular in freestyle wrestling, also known in folk style wrestling. But because of the more restricted rule set, you really see them a lot more in beach wrestling as well as compared to folk style wrestling. And I'm also going to bring up how a lot of these attacks are pretty popular in freestyle wrestling as well, but just in other countries, right? Like Iran and Russia. We see a lot. So because you cannot hit your knee, the type of attacks you'll see more often in beach wrestling are underhook throw bys. You'll see a lot of slide bys, a lot of throw bys from the underhook, a lot of slide bys, a lot of snatch singles, which is great, which I think is a super like underutilized, underdeveloped type of attack when it comes to folk style, and a lot of snaps. Because hitting your knee results in a point, you'll get a lot more snaps. And I believe this makes you develop your stance a lot more. So I had a few points here. One, you're forced to develop safer attack options. So like I just said, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know tie-up attacks are the most effective as well as the safest. As in, when I say safest, I mean your opponent scores a counter on you less often when you attempt these type of attacks. If you've been keeping up with wrestling lately, which I'm sure you have if you're watching this video right now, then you know as a country we're getting a lot better at reattacks. Down block reattacks is gaining in popularity. A lot more kids are training it. And obviously the wrestling quote of I shoot, I score, you shoot, I score is very, very popular. I'm sure everybody has heard it before. There's a reason for that. Typically when someone attempts a shot, they get out of position. Now, I'm not advocating that you don't shoot. If this is your first time seeing a video of me, don't think that. I think anybody who has supported the channel for a long time can attest to the fact that my two favorite takedowns, and not just my two favorite takedowns, the two takedowns that I think are objectively the best are a double leg, preferably a blast double, but double leg in general, as well as a fireman's dump. Some type of dump in that, or fireman's in that family of moves. I think those two are super effective, and you hit your knee for both of those attacks. However, you go to your typical wrestling room, and almost all the offense is, for one, it's focused on neutral, heavily on neutral. We aren't focusing on top and bottom nearly as much as we are on neutral wrestling. And when it comes to beach wrestling, freestyle, and Greco-Roman, there's no parterre in beach wrestling. It's 100% neutral. And parterre in Greco-Roman and freestyle does not translate over to folk style. So none of those three styles are applied to top and bottom. So now I'm talking about neutral. And when the title of the video is beach wrestling is the best supplement to folk style, I really want to hone in on what I'm talking about here. As far as my goal is to win the state title, I want to be as good as possible at folk style. If I have to only choose one other style to train, I believe it would benefit a majority of wrestlers in the United States, because we're talking about folk style wrestling, so it's only the United States, to train beach wrestling as opposed to freestyle, 100%. Now, you get a lot of really good guys who train freestyle, but a lot of the freestyle development is beneficial on its own. A lot of the best wrestlers have Olympic aspirations to be an Olympic champion, world champion, which means that they're training freestyle for the sake of freestyle. Do I think training freestyle can make you a little bit better at folk style more than training folk style can? Only in certain areas, as in maybe when it comes to helping your scramble ability, right? Maybe when it comes to not getting up a front headlock because you may feel a little bit less comfortable in the front headlock, but not even that really, right? You see guys like David Taylor give it up all the time, but still feel comfortable not giving up the go behind. But when it comes to scrambling, it's having safer scrambling, right? Spencer Lee talks about this, the fact that even the folk style, he rarely rolled across his back because of freestyle, you can't do it. So he kind of wrestled it the same way. Besides that, and also something I also like with freestyle is in folk style, you'll see guys get thrown and just roll across their back, like go into momentum, and that's a habit a lot of high schoolers have. Guys who are more sound and freestyle don't have that habit because even if you roll through, you still give up 4 points. So little benefits like that, but I also think you have that same benefit from beach wrestling because in beach wrestling, as soon as you go get taken feet to back, rather you get rolled through or not, doesn't matter. You lose the entire match. So that same benefit can carry over. Only thing that won't carry over to beach wrestling, as far as a benefit towards folk style wrestling, is the scrambling. However, like I was saying before, you go to a typical high school room, high school wrestling practice. Most of the practice is going to be taking place on the feet, right from neutral, and almost everything is about hitting your knee. High crotch, sweep single, hand inside single, crack down position from the high crotch, low single, double leg. Almost everything is about hitting your knee. What to do in the dogfight position. Everything is taking place from the mat. We are neglecting other attacks. For one, underhook throw by. You see dominant wrestlers from other countries. And I has Yasaya Dani. Russia in the past few years has had Abdul Rashid Sajalayev as well as Serbet Sidikov. All these guys have a significant portion of their offense comes from the underhook. They have some variation of an underhook throw by. You look at Sidikov, he has one of the best slide bys in the world. These are attacks that I believe you should develop more often. Tie up attacks, upper body attacks, where the goal is to go feet to stomach, not feet to back. They're not throws. And we do not work on them enough. And because of that, our hand fighting is very lackluster. You see a lot of high school kids who aren't comfortable from the hand fight. The two biggest areas of deficiency when you're talking about a high schooler going into college that I hear all college wrestlers talking about is, for one, being able to get up from bottom and right on top. The mat wrestling isn't quite there going from high school into college. That's what guys really focus on their redshirt seasons, as well as the hand fighting. They say the hand fighting in college is night and day compared to high school because they work on it a lot more. It is neglected heavily, and hand fighting to me is better developed when you actually have attacks from the hand fight. A lot of guys are clubbing just to club. When you're actually working towards something, it's much easier to do, right? It's much easier to develop, much easier to work, or you have a slide by from the collar tie. You have an underhook throw by that you're always trying to get to. So that is a huge thing in beach wrestling. Also, your stance work is a lot better because you have so many because the snap down is so much more utilized in beach wrestling. Now it forces your stance to be better, as well as your pressure. You still have a step by point, just like freestyle. You still have a step by point, and there's a slightly smaller circle, so you have a lot of guys pressuring a lot more. But the pressure is better because you can't just pressure, and but you have to worry about getting snapped down to your knees. So you have to have better footwork as well as your pressure. You have to pressure with your feet more than just leaning your upper body, which a lot of guys make that mistake. And another benefit that I think can kind of go overlooked is it's a little bit less pressure in live rounds, right? So I have guys on my team training for Farwell right now, and then hopefully they qualify for Fargo. When we're going free folk style live rounds, they can be a lot tighter, right? Because they don't want to lose in the practice room. Obviously, as coaches, we all tell them, hey, we are in here to get better. Don't worry about wins or losses. But that's not how a lot of kids think, especially your more serious competitors. Same thing even when we go freestyle. For one, not everybody in the room knows freestyle, but the guys who do, they're training for Fargo right now. So they also take freestyle live rounds. very seriously, and sometimes this can make them tight. When I've been implementing beach wrestlers rule set style rounds for the past few months, I have a kid who, when I first got him 6 months ago, did not hand fight at all. Now he loves wrestling from the hand fight. His favorite attack is still a sweep single, but he can score from the underhook throw by. He's just been working a lot of slide bys. He's become a lot. He's become more of a well-rounded wrestler. I have kids that a set of brothers who are typically neck and neck, like at each other's heads. In beach wrestling rounds, they're a little bit more free. They'll try and attack and try to score in a way that they wouldn't have tried in a typical folk style round or freestyle round. Losing in the beach wrestling round doesn't really feel the same because it's a lot less. It's so much more restrictive. Where they know it's not really they don't feel as if it's an indicator of their wrestling ability as much, right? They get taken down in the folk style round. A lot of kids, man, I suck, I this, I that, I have such a bad day. You lose the beach wrestling round, yes, you don't want to get pushed around the map. You don't want to be giving up 1,000 slide bys, but it feels a lot less like an indicator, a hit on who they are as a wrestler. But they still wrestle hard as far as still getting that look and that benefit of a live wrestling round. So when compared to freestyle and Greco-Roman, only being looked at as a supplement to folk style, the main reason why beach wrestling is better is because it forces you to look at and address an area that is underdeveloped in American wrestling rooms, which is folk style, right? Now, if we were like other countries, like if we're talking about Iranian type of style, right? Let's say Iranians wrestle folk style. They do underhooks so much, anyways. A lot of the Russians, almost all the Russians do underhooks, right? Some type of underhook robot. Sidakov, David Bayev, Sajalayev, almost all these guys, Rashidov, I mean, all these guys, they work a lot more tie-up attacks than the typical American does. So for them, it may not be as beneficial because they're already addressing these areas. But for American wrestlers, for high school wrestlers, who you go to a practice, man, the only attack kids know how to do, every attack requires them to hit their knee, right? And also, last thing that I kind of mentioned but kind of skipped over, snatch singles or snatch doubles, right? Or power doubles when you don't have to hit your knee. These are here so much more often than the kids realize, but they just don't think about it because they never train it. But in the beach wrestling rounds, they realize his leg is really close. If I just step and level change without actually hitting my knee, it's there. These are safe attacks. These are super safe attacks to the point, not only are they safe, but they require a lot less energy and you're getting stuck underneath a lot less often, which means that you can push the pace a lot more often. Your attack rate can go up because the type of attacks you're doing require less energy and they're less risky. So this is huge. I think it would benefit 90% of wrestlers to start working in at least 5 minutes of beach wrestling type of rule set rounds a day. We'll do 2 to 3 rounds of practice. They're really fun. The guys are really into them. At first, I had some pushback from the guys and the girls on the team, but I think they've realized the benefit of it more as they've been practicing it more and they've become more well-rounded. So thank you for sending in the video. Ended up being a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I will see you guys on the next video.